In a world of seemingly endless podcasts comes what many would call another one.
It's the Two M.E.N podcast. Join your hosts, Tim Matson and Phil Powell, two confirmed men, that's moderately entertaining nerds, as they take you on another journey that's guaranteed to be funny or not. Thanks for joining us again on the Two M.E.N podcast. This is Tim and Phil hanging out with you again on this lonely Friday afternoon.
Yeah. We like lonely. I mean, if you're lonely, that could be the only reason you're listening to this podcast.
It's a good reason. Yeah, we'll be happy to keep you company.
That's right. That's right. With at least a modest amount of mirth.
Again, we're shooting for modest.
Yeah, modest.
So anyway, after tackling the Sesame Street controversy last year, last episode.
Last year?
Last year.
It
Well, may have been last
like
year.
it,
No. Yeah, last week seems like a year ago. We're going to turn our attention to video games this week.
Yeah, video games.
That's right. So I was playing a game the other night with my kids. It's called Her Story. And it's a really interesting take on a full motion video game, something that you might have seen in the 90s. And it was funny to play that now at 2016 and think about where video games have come over the years, because gaming has changed a lot since you and I were kids, right?
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yes.
What was the first game you ever played?
Okay, so I have to ask you a question before I answer that is, so video games, do you like them?
I do like them. Yeah, I'm a fan.
Yeah, I would have to say that I am also a fan of video games. I'm not a die-hard video game person. I used to...
I'm a die-easy video game person.
Die-easy,
especially
yes.
in first-person shooters.
Yeah.
Die all the time.
I have no patience to learn all
I'm terrible
of that
at
crap.
them.
Yeah. But, no, my very first discovery of a video game was, not surprisingly, Pong.
Yeah.
So we... I remember seeing that in Terre Haute, which we are both familiar with, at Honey Creek Square Mall. There was an arcade in that mall, and they had a Pong machine along with a bunch of pinball machines. Back then, what predated video games really was their companion, which is pretty much dead now, which is pinball.
Pinball games, yeah.
Pinball games have been around since the 50s, I guess, or probably somebody's going to call in, would that we're that lucky. Somebody's going to call in and correct me and say, no, it's been around longer than that. Hey, look, I get all of my pinball references from Happy Days. So as far as I know,
that's a trusted source.
That's
definitely,
right.
Yeah.
I know that Fonzie tapped on them and made them work.
I think you're thinking of the jukebox, but okay, we'll run with that, sure.
What? Didn't he do something with
No,
pinball?
he hit the jukebox to make the music play. I don't know.
Hit the pinball machine.
Whatever.
Hey.
He jumped over a shark at some point, so that's all that matters.
I think we're rapidly
approaching the shark.
It's only our second episode, and the sharks are looming.
Stay tuned, folks. It only gets worse from here.
So I watched the Pong game. I don't think I even realized what I was watching. But then, actually, not too long after that came out all the home versions.
Yeah. I remember distinctly when I was a little kid, I was so jealous of my cousins, Kristen, and her family, because they had a Pong machine at home. They hooked up to the TV. So we went over to my cousin Janet and Dale's house, and they had Pong. About lost my mind. I was so excited. You had a video game in your house.
Well, I actually... All right, so here's my story is I bought one of those things.
Whoa.
And I still have it.
Do you really?
Yes, it's actually in my basement. Do you want me to go get it?
It's very exciting. I'd love to play it.
Well, I don't know that it works. We'd have to see. But it was called a Telstar, which is, I think, a satellite system. It was made by somebody. I bought it at the Oblong Hardware store.
Did you really?
$66. I delivered papers in the winter for $4 a week.
That's awesome.
To save up to buy the Telstar system. And you could play tennis and hockey and everything. So I saved up, and I called it a family present.
Nice.
For Christmas. That was how
Very smooth.
Yeah. I got to say, everything about video games was fun with Pong until my friends came over and were better at it than me. and then I hated the game, and I didn't really want to play it.
Yeah, that's usually the breaking point for everyone, is you have this cool game, you think you're awesome at it, and then your best buddy comes over and just kicks your
Mhm.
behind all over the place. And you're
Yeah,
like, well,
and
I'm done with that game. That game,
that's right, and they have
the controller wasn't working right anyway. So.
yeah, it's stupid. It's no longer cool.
No, it's not cool to play that anymore.
Yeah, so Timmy, you go home. You've made me mad, and let's play GI Joes. Maybe let's consider that. So, yeah, that was my first experience.
That's
so,
really
what was
cool.
yours?
Mine was, like I said, the very first video game that I played was Pong, like you, over at Janet and Dale's house. But the thing that really got me was text-based adventures.
Right.
Yeah, that was great fun. God bless our computer teacher, Jewel Bauman. Didn't know the first thing about computers, but she was a great teacher because she just let us have at things, and we broke down programs and rewrote things and made things out of the games that were written in BASIC. It was so much fun. A lot of my buddies in computer class, we were constantly tweaking and playing with games, and she had really no idea what the heck we were up to.
Well, those games, for people that don't know, those games were crazy because I remember when somebody said, well, here's a game, and they typed in something, and then I was like, what do you mean there's a game? Because it was just text on the screen. And when we mean text-based games, we mean
literally text-based
games.
Yeah.
It would be like you see a door in front of you, and then there'd be this flashing...
Just a prompt.
You'd be like, okay, open door. I don't understand. You'll get a response like, I don't understand. I think that was it. It was like, I don't know.
Basically something like that. If you told it to do something, that was open doors, like a very common phrase. You would think it would work, but maybe this door only works if you use key on door, and then it would open.
Right.
So it was all about finding these ways of getting through puzzles and things using only text.
One of my favorite hobbies was there was a Star Trek text game, and I used to try and see if I could add adjectives to, so when it would say orbit planet, I would say orbit planet, stupid Sulu, and it would let me. And see, to me, that was pretty amusing.
Yeah, that is funny. Well, it's because it's only operating on the first part of the command. It's ignoring the rest.
That's right.
So you could type whatever you wanted to.
That's right. I found that at 17 years of age. That was pretty high.
That's pretty good stuff.
That's high comedy.
Our favorite thing would be to type profanity in and then just see whatever the game said back to you. Right. And most of the time it was a variation on a slightly scolding tone, like, oh, adventurer shouldn't use such language.
Right.
Something silly like that.
As if your parents were watching.
Absolutely. We were in good hands with video games.
And here's the thing is, back in those days, there was no fear that anybody was monitoring you.
In my classroom in my Newton Community High School, there was literally no one looking after us. We ran amok, and it was great. We had so much fun. In fact, for my final project, I wrote a Monopoly game in BASIC using actual graphics and everything. It was very exciting.
Is that how you made your first million?
That was, my first million was made in BASIC Monopoly for the TRS-80.
That's right. A friend of mine, Joe Loyal, had a VIC-20. Now, do you remember a VIC-20?
Commodore, yeah.
It, preceded the Commodore 64.
Right.
And it was basically a cassette player.
Mm-hmm.
And you would load your programs off of a cassette.
Which didn't work half the time.
Right. And it would take...
Because you had the volume set wrong or something crazy.
It would take forever. I remember we played a game on his television off of the VIC-20 that was a roulette game. And here's all it did. Is it literally gave you a random number. And we just thought that was
so complex.
We just thought that was the cat's meow. It's like, all right, and then you hit it. Oh, look at that. It's 20 this time. Oh,
whoa.
What'd you guess? Oh, I had 10. That was the it was like, but because it happened, it's nothing that none of us couldn't have done just.
No, but it was happening on a TV. That made things different.
Right. It's all of a sudden it was fancy.
Absolutely. That's the future.
Let's talk about arcades. So what was your experience growing up with arcades?
Oh, well, see, we didn't, as you know, being in a small town, we didn't really have an arcade. But luckily at the Tasty Freeze,
Mm.
they had Space Invaders, and they also had Pac-Man. And also, just down from the high school, we used to walk down to a Huck's convenience store where they also had Ms. Pac-Man and Pac-Man and, oh gosh, all the, the classics, the Donkey Kong and Centipede. They would rotate them out. They had a space for 3 cabinets, and they would get rotated out. I guess they rented them from someplace,
right,
and bring them in. So they'd have a new one every, maybe a few months or so.
So what was your, what did you sign your game wins as?
Oh, luckily, my first name is 3 letters, so TIM is what I always put.
Isn't that a little obvious?
It is a bit. It's a bit on the nose. I mean, of course, you put ASS a few times, but
Do you know what I signed mine as?
I have no idea.
God.
Oh, nice. Now, doesn't that devalue the deity if he doesn't have the highest score?
Well, here's the thing.
Look at God. He really sucks at Centipede. My goodness.
Oh, that's really horrible. But I specifically spelled it with a capital G. And here's what's funny is my friends who were not religious at all got offended when I did that. They were like, hey, man, that's not cool. Kind of like that.
Really? That's funny.
Yeah. Now you're right. I could put any curse word I want. That was totally fine.
Yeah.
But when I went to God, it's like, they gave me side eye.
Oh,
they gave
great.
me side eye, and I took that as I was like, I must be doing something right.
But
you're right,
cachet there.
But you're right. It is bad when God is not. He's
I totally kicked God's ass at Miss Pac-Man. It was amazing.
He's number 7.
Yeah, God pretty much sucks at that.
Yeah. So that may have been a foreshadowing to my ultimate ego status.
Yeah,
it was like I was like, anyway.
Yeah.
But I call it creative thinking or projection identity or something like that.
I like it. That's great. Yeah, so gaming has been a big part of my life over the years. We've had, and I never had a console growing up. Like, you had the cool uncle. I didn't really have one that I played growing up. So it really wasn't until much later in my life that I actually owned one of my own. I owned the PlayStation 2 as my first console that I bought, and it was glorious. So many hours playing RPGs, Japanese role-playing games, and it's been great. It was great fun.
That is cool. I never really, I went pretty much from the Pong game to when I would visit my uncle, the console, and then straight to arcades. I had kind of graduated into arcades. Arcades to me were this fantastic place where you could get these.
It's like Mecca.
It was an amazing experience, and it was the cool place to hang out. It was a cool place to, when you were lonely on a Friday
night. Friday.
When you were on, and the cool chicks the pretty girls were not dating you. That was the place where everybody who could not get a date. That's where you showed up.
Sounds like my home away from home.
That's right. You showed up at the arcade, and that's where you can hang out. It wasn't like you were unwanted. You wanted to be at the arcade.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah. Girls, who needs them?
That's right. I certainly don't. I've got.
The only female I need in my life is Ms. Pac-Man.
That's right. She was exclusive to me as well.
Absolutely.
Right. Now, here's the thing. Most people, they never were in arcades. This is the thing that if you did this today, you'd probably get shot.
Here's a history lesson for you. They actually had games in large cabinets the size of an entertainment center.
All right. So 2 things is you used to, when you play an arcade game and they give you tokens, this is when I remember when tokens were new. It was a bizarre concept because first off, you'd go, they ran on quarters.
Right. You used to get quarters at first. You'd put in $1, you get quarters to use the machines. And then they transitioned to tokens. You're like, what a rip, man. If I only want to play 2 games, I'm stuck with 2 tokens. They're useless until I come back to the arcade.
Well, for me, it was more of an education system is because you're taught to learn. It's like, so these stand for quarters. It's like, yes. They don't look like money.
It's a whole new economy.
I still have tokens. I still have tokens.
Do you really?
Like from Yeah, I still have tokens from Aladdin's Castle. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
chain,
Yeah.
and a couple of other places.
Wasn't that the Aladdin's Castle in Terre Haute?
I think so. I think that was the name of it. That was a chain that was around. And the place that was local to me was called Laser Station.
Oh, okay. Did you ever go? Do you remember behind the mall in Effingham? Do you remember Lincoln Land?
No.
Don't know if that was there when you, it had to have been. You were still there when that was there. I didn't know if you ever went over there.
Here you have to remember, everything in Illinois is Lincoln.
Yeah. No, I know.
They claim him. They claim him at every possible opportunity.
Yeah. Every imaginable thing has Lincoln attached to it. Absolutely.
If you live in Illinois, you better love Lincoln because you got no choice, baby. That's if you say something against Lincoln in Illinois, not that you normally would.
They make you move to Indiana.
That's right. Although, here's the thing is, if you move to Indiana, he lived in Indiana for a while, too. So they claim him. And Kentucky.
Yeah.
So Indiana, Illinois, and Kentucky, everybody has a little piece of Abe.
Piece of Abe. Yeah. So yeah, there was a little amusement park, indoor amusement park behind it.
Yes,
and it had a big arcade in that too. I don't remember what that one was called. I think it was just an arcade that was in Lincoln Land.
Lincoln Land. You people better look that up on the internet.
Lincoln Land. Yeah, it's good times. They just actually stumbled across that again online. Someone had posted some pictures of it and was looking for people who had more pictures of it. And it was kind of funny to look back at.
Not to be confused with Santa Claus, Indiana.
Santa Land.
Yes.
That's a great place.
That's right. If you want cheap rides, in North Carolina, the equivalent would be Tweetsie Railroad.
Tweetsie Railroad is kind of similar, but less fun.
Yes.
To be frank. Tweetsie Railroad is boring.
When you're like, can't wait to get on the Ferris wheel. That's how exciting Tweetsie is. The only thing and I'm curious if they're going to be allowed to keep this up with the whole ethnicity issue, is the whole, they got that train ride thing, which has been, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But every
about.
place has the same train ride. Okay. It's like you get on the train, you're a kid, and you're a cowboy.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And you go down to the fort, and there's people there, and then you go back to the fort, and they've been massacred by the Indians.
Okay.
And then you go fight the Indians with your other cowboy friends that you've met, and you shoot from the train. You shoot at the Indians, and you kill them. And then you go back, and there are bandits, and they get on the train. That's a whole routine. That's a whole...
I don't think they do that anymore, because I remember we took... I didn't get to go. Oh, I say get to go. I didn't have to go one time when we took my son. And they did just the bandits robbing the train.
Okay, so that's more politically acceptable.
Exactly. No Native Americans were harmed in the making of this train ride.
Yeah. We used to kill them by the dozens when I was a child.
Absolutely.
And it was totally acceptable.
Yeah, that was totally acceptable. Just gun them down left and right.
That's right. I'm repulsed by my youth.
It is. It's a little disconcerting to look back on now and be like, Jesus.
Well,
what?
We had a game. I mean,
you played Cowboys and Indians.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
When's the last time you saw kids playing Cowboys and Indians?
Never. I mean, I don't remember seeing any kids play Cowboys and Indians when my kids were little.
And here's the thing. Everybody knew that if you played the Indian, that meant...
you were getting shot.
You were getting shot.
You were dead meat.
You were getting shot.
Dead man walking.
That's right. You had to... I shot you. No, you didn't. No, you did. It's like, oh, you're the Indian. Oh, okay.
You did shoot me.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Let's play again. This time I'm the cowboy.
I want to be the cowboy. I don't want to die this time. Let me be the cowboy.
But you could be the good Indian. Oh, God, this is horrible.
Oh, this is a horrible...
This is like Daniel Boone.
Second podcast in a row, we're harping on race. Nice. Good job, guys.
Daniel Boone, Ed Ames was...
Wait, are you saying Daniel Boone was an Indian? Is that...
No. But his sidekick, Ed Ames, was like... Oh, gosh, I forget the name.
Oh, okay. I was confused. Confused momentarily.
Mingo? Does that ring any bells?
No, it does not. I think you're making this up.
Mingo. Look it up on the computer.
I'm not looking it up on the computer. We're trying to do a podcast here.
All right.
I will confirm or deny this later.
Fess Parker was a good American. He played Daniel Boone and David Crockett.
Oh my God. How did we get here from video games? I don't know. It's crazy.
I will go back to the Lonely Friday Night theme.
Lonely Friday Night with Phil and Tim.
Because on Fridays were specials you could get, and Saturdays. So if you went in and you gave them $5, which you could kind of wrangle around with your friends, you'd get 40 tokens. So you got more.
Oh, yeah, right.
You got more than what would normally get.
Right.
And if you timed your sad life out just in the right way and took pauses between playing games, that would make for a full evening.
Yeah.
That would make for a full evening of entertainment. Another annoying thing people used to do in arcades is they would put, while you were playing a game, they would put a token
up
on the game while you were playing. That was basically saying, I'm next. And here, it was a little rude. The first time it happens, you'd think somebody's making a pass, but that's not actually.
I'm about to get lucky. Oh my God.
That's right. Oh, it's another loser like me. And he's just putting a token up there. And back in those days, now video games, like most online video games, are meant for you to spend a lot of time with.
Yeah.
They are the inverse of what arcade games used to be, which is the owners were like, look, I need to crank through it.
We got to get these kids to die quickly so they can get on to the next quarter.
Right, exactly. So they were meant, they escalated rapidly. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely. No, I think, to be honest, as a gamer now, I think that's part of a problem I have with video games now, is that they have strayed too far in the opposite direction, whereas now I'm ostensibly an adult, even though I behave like a child a lot of the time.
I can vouch for that.
It's true. I'm an adult. I have responsibilities, again, in theory.
Yeah. Responsibility.
It's a responsibility.
Yes. Yeah. This podcast is one of his many.
It's one of my responsibilities. It's there. It's a thing that is. So I have things to do. Okay, let's just say I have things to do.
Yes.
Things I want to do. And so when you hand me a game that takes, like, last year, one of the greatest games out was called The Witcher. It's from a Polish studio, and it is a role-playing game based on a novel series over there that's very famous in Poland. And it was one of the most in-depth and amazing role-playing games ever made. But you could pour 200 hours into this thing before seeing the end of it. If you really wanted to dig in and see everything and do everything in it. I mean, you were talking 200 plus hours of play, and that's just not time that I have.
Right.
Now, when I was, a teenager, I would have plowed through that thing in maybe a couple weekends.
Right.
But, anymore, I just don't have that time. So what I'm more interested in is well-crafted, shorter experiences. So, speaking of games,
all right,
you had an idea for a fun little game that we wanted to play, right?
It's time to play Instant Opinion with Tim and Phil. This is where I give Tim one word and he must render an instant opinion within 10 seconds. Are you ready to play, Tim?
I am ready to play, Phil.
All right. First word. Forks.
Forks. I am pro fork because they're very pointy and allows you to pick up things. They also allow you to cut things if you're a heathen. I'm really not for them whenever it comes to like poking your gums with them. I would not clean my teeth with them.
All right, number 2. All right,
all right, timer.
Stop the
Bob, stop the timer.
All right,
thanks.
Number 2, Netflix. Did you mess up the time? I messed up the timer.
Okay, Netflix.
I'm skipping that one.
No, Netflix. Damn.
You've already had time to think about it.
All right. Okay. Yes. Go ahead.
Netflix.
I am pro Netflix because it allows me to watch movies in my underwear and touch myself when necessary at the right places. It doesn't have enough selection for the things I like to touch myself about.
At the right. Oh God.
That's been Instant Review.
That's right. Next word. Have you got it?
I got it. I'm ready.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Fake butter.
Fake butter. I'm against fake butter. Doesn't have the lubricating properties necessary. No, I just don't want to know what goes into fake butter. It just kind of grosses me out.
Pro,
it's still buttery.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Hey, under the time limit. Very nice.
Halley's Comet.
Halley's Comet doesn't visit often enough. I miss it. I wish it would stop by and say hi every once in a while. When it is here, it is something to talk about to people that you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and
or even like.
It's never. Oh God! All right,
time's up.
Fake orgasms.
Fake orgasms. I didn't start the timer. Hang on, starting the timer. Incidentally, that's how sex works too.
Yes.
I got nothing. I got nothing. Time's up. Reset.
He's scared, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm scared of fake orgasms. Time's up.
That's all I got.
All right. And that has been Instant Opinion with Tim
and Phil.
Thank you for playing.
Greetings, I am Alice, highly paid digital assistant to the Two Men podcast. Thanks for spending time with the two moderately entertaining nerds, Tim Mattson and Phil Powell. Want to let us know what you thought of the show? Have an idea for a topic we can discuss? Want to demand your money back? We'd love to hear from you. Drop us an email at twomencast@gmail.com. In the meantime, please consider leaving us a review on iTunes or your podcast service of choice. Also, for all discussions moderately funny, you can join us at facebook.com/twomencast. Join us next time when we will be guaranteed to be funny. Or not.